Welcome to Life's a Blog. I'm Trina Stewart. This is a weekly conversation about betrayal, grief, healing, and the songs that help us make sense of it all. I'm not a therapist, but I'm a woman who's been in therapy since 2018 and decided to do the work instead of run from it. Here we tell the truth about heartbreak, about growth, about learning to trust yourself again. Every song has a story, and every story has a song. Let's get into it. You know, when I was a little girl, I absolutely loved being alone. I would pretend 24/7, whether I was out in the playground, in the forest, in my bedroom listening to my little blue suitcase turntable. I was always imagining and having fun by myself. That said, I loved having my friends around, don't get me wrong, but being alone was something that was natural and free. And I think a lot of us adults can look back at our childhood and kind of embrace the times that we had alone, or we needed that alone time to kind of reboot and revive ourselves for the next playing session with our friends or our next day at school. And as well, we'd have to go to bed alone, sit there and think alone. I can remember on Christmas night how sad I used to be that Christmas was over, and I would lay in my bed and listen to the last bit of Christmas music. I would take it in on my little ghetto blaster. Being alone was just so special at that time. But as we get older, some of us have issues with being alone. And with more and more of us in our 40s and 50s realizing breakups, that we've raised kids, we've had a busy household, there's lots of noise, there's that companionship event. Being alone seems almost impossible because we have so many demons that we need to face. And there's also a very, very specific kind of silence after a breakup. And it's not really peaceful at first. It's actually very loud. You recognize the quiet where your phone doesn't light up. And there's no one asking you where you are. There's no one who needs you to explain yourself. And if I'm honest, that silence can feel like rejection. Last night, I think I had one of the most loneliest nights. Everyone in my team was talking about pancake day, and some were having pancakes, some weren't, but I was like, I want pancakes so bad. And I was sitting here by myself. And I go to the pantry and I grab some flour and I texted everyone, to heck with that. I'm making pancakes. So I just put the bowl on the counter and the flour, I was getting it ready to measure, and my phone went off, and it was a lady that lives in the same town as myself, and she asked me, what are you doing? And I'm not too much. I said, I was going to call you about an hour ago, but then I thought, maybe you're doing family time, whatever. And she said, well, there's pancake dinner at the Optimist Club. Do you want to come? And I'm like, I'm in. So, sometimes it can be, you can feel very rejected being alone, especially after raising your children and having all that time with everybody. And they're grown adults. So you can't ask them to always be there to entertain you. And when I look at my children, is they are people who are living their own life. And whomever I decide to have in the comfort of my own home, and if I see them only once or twice a month, that's my decision. That is not theirs. Because they are busy living their own lives. They're no longer children. They're grown adults. And nor do I need to vent with them about my problems or my relationship issues or my work issues. Sometimes talking to them and venting can seem like I'm being more of a failure as a parent than what I am being a positive parent, because I want them to strive for the very best as well. And by complaining about a partner or my job or my owning a business right now, it's just kind of putting a bad taste in their mouth and carrying on that generational legacy of negativity, where I don't want that. So even when I have my kids, it's still very lonely because there's certain things I just don't talk about. What I'm learning right now is that silence is not rejection. It's actually recalibration. It's making myself a different person to open my life up for someone or something that will give me the happiness that I want and deserve. And for the first time in a long time, I'm not trying to replace what I lost. I'm also trying to understand why I tolerated it. And that is a very different position to be in. And I think why I have never truly been alone in this whole journey of mine. I think the moment I got alone, I would feel that something failed. But now I see it differently. Being alone after a breakup is not punishment, it's actually strategic, creating a strategy. When you've been in a relationship, especially one that required you to overfunction, you don't just lose the person. You lose the routine, you lose the rhythm, the identity you built inside that dynamic. And then if you jump into something new too quickly, you carry the same patterns forward. So I don't want to be bringing my ex-husband and my ex into my next type relationship, because basically what I'm creating is a different face but the same dance, because it will be the same person that I attach myself to. So this season alone is teaching me where I was overgiving, where I was over explaining, where I was working harder than the relationship required. And this solitude and this beautiful home and this beautiful view, it exposed everything very quickly. And there is something deeply humbling about sitting with yourself without external validation, or sitting there waiting for that call or that text, not receiving compliments or reassurance that you're doing the right thing. It's just you alone. And sure, I get my daily calls from my two buddies who check in on me. But when I'm talking about a relationship, I'm talking one that's intimate, that's 24/7, and you're seeing each other every day. You're doing the sweet surprises and just loving each other unconditionally, allowing each other in your life 24/7. I realized how much I used to feel steady only when I was chosen. And that's a very dangerous thing to feel. Maya Angelou said, "You alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anybody." And that line really does hit differently when you're not in a relationship, because being alone forces you to test whether you believe that. And I feel that with the transition after my breakup, leaving the landlord situation, placing myself about 2 hours away from my children, I feel that I have tested myself, and I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I wake up every morning and try to prove to myself that I can be the best that I can be. And when I go to bed at night, I can actually sleep feeling confident that I did the best that I could do. And could I have done more? Yes, I could have done more. I could have rested a little bit. But here it is Wednesday night, and I probably could have waited till tomorrow to do my podcast, but we're going to print on Friday, so I wanted to ensure that this was going to get done this evening. And do I actually believe I'm enough when no one is affirming it? Absolutely. I am enough. And I will not settle ever again. And really, being alone actually answered everything. I'm feeling quite good about my future. And whether it's with someone or not, it is very nice to have companionship. And I'm sure as long as I stay here, I'm sure that I'll make acquaintances that I can go pop in for a tea or a coffee or a drink. But right now, since I don't know anybody, this is the opportune moment to start looking within, realizing that I am enough and that I don't have to prove it to anyone. But silence also tells the truth as well. Because when everything gets quiet, the red flags get louder. When you're not distracted by chemistry or hope or potential, you start seeing the patterns clearly. I had moments alone where I thought, wow, I really accepted that. I really explained that behavior away. I really tried to carry that by myself. And Coco Chanel says the most courageous act is to still think for yourself aloud. Thinking for yourself in a relationship is hard when you want it to work. Thinking for yourself alone? Nah, that's clarity. And clarity is very uncomfortable. It's funny because I went to a pharmacy the other day and it was more out of curiosity because, one of the partners that I was with obviously claimed that he never knew how to do anything. He doesn't know how to do that. But then when I went to the pharmacy and they're like, yeah, it's $48. I'm like, yeah, I knew you knew how to do it all along, but you just chose to keep it because that was your plan. And I did a lot more puzzle piecing. And it's so funny when you're alone because you think about all of these different situations that you've been through and you start putting this piece together and that piece together and that piece together and that piece together. And sometimes your friends can get rather annoyed with you because you're like, oh, here's another thing that I figured out. And it fits so perfectly because it's all coming together. So then all of a sudden you have this perfect puzzle put together. And you're like, yeah, I was really played. And with my ex-husband, that puzzle's still all over the place, but it is coming together. There's just a lot of unanswered questions that I'll probably never receive to put it together 100%. And I don't think nobody knows the answers. There's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness says I'm missing something, which actually happens between 8 and 9 most evenings. And then I get over it with the show or I do something in regards to work. The solitude says I'm building something. So here I am all alone. I could be watching TV or playing video games, but I decided no, I'm going to be building my entity and I'm going to do my podcast. And belonging to yourself means you don't tolerate being someone's option. It means you don't chase mixed signals. It means you stop performing. And I'll say it plainly, being alone has shown me I was working harder than the relationship. And that's not partnership. Mark Twain said, never allow someone to be your priority when you're allowing yourself to be their option. When you sit alone long enough, you see where all that was happening. And even in the celebrity world, being alone has become a phenomenon. Adele stepped back after her divorce and focused on therapy and motherhood instead of jumping into a public romance. Selena Gomez has spoken openly about taking extended breaks from dating to prioritize her mental health. And look what she ended up with. God love Benny. And really, that's maturity. It is very much maturity, and every therapist would tell you that you need some time alone before you hop into a new relationship. Solitude is where standards are rebuilt. And here are a few things that you can do. Well, you're mourning a breakup, but needing to rebuild yourself. Take up a hobby. I have a table where I paint. I have another side of the kitchen table where I do some cricket cup making, and I'm trying to get into other sorts of crafting. I have this podcast. You can start trying to make different types of coffee. Not too late at night, obviously. listen to podcasts and Audible books. That has been a great pastime of mine. A big thing to do is to journal. Journaling, I used to write in a diary every night when I was a little girl. And I think the last time I wrote in my journal was kind of a recap of where my life was back in 2002 or something. And I've been meaning to open up that journal again, even though it has my teenage years, part of my adult years. I am slowly getting to the fact of I got to write with pen and not type, but to start journaling again because I think it's so very important. I feel like my journal is here with you, and it's the best way that I can express myself because I put a lot of thought into my podcast before I come on, and I really do a lot of self-reflection on, things that I can do better and things that I can help you with. So starting something like this or getting onto TikTok and not doom scrolling, but posting about your experience, maybe that's an option if you're not too nervous to do that. Another thing can be very harmful to your health, but is baking. Baking and cooking. When you're alone, don't just grab one of those frozen dinners and pop it in the oven. It's always best to try to plan a meal for yourself and really take it in and enjoy it. And then you have leftovers for the week too, because, nothing is sold for one person. And baking, I love baking, but I think I'm going to cut off on the baking because the cookies went a little too quick and no one came to visit me. Other things is tapping in with nature. They say, and I feel it's true right now because I'm surrounded in nature, that it brings a lot of perspective and a lot of deep thought when you're walking through nature. You learn to appreciate the small things in life. You don't need a whole bunch of things to make your heart happy or life happy. You don't need to compete with others when you're in nature. Nature has you and you have nature. And I'm starting to have a greater appreciation because I think my first interaction with nature was when I bought the trailer. But now I'm all mat alone in this house surrounded by forest. I saw a little raccoon tonight and I'm just enjoying it immensely. I'm finding my peace here. And don't get me wrong, I do get lonely. And there are times that I want to pick up the phone and say, hey, buddy, why don't you come over? A different buddy. But I don't because I don't want to get looped into that either. As well, I feel that for myself, another way I gain perspective is going for drives. And I love driving. So if you're not a driver, it's probably not the best thing to do. But I try to budget enough gas for myself that I can go for a really good drive, take in the scenery, maybe catch a snowy owl this time of year, but I really haven't been hunting them down because I just haven't been up in Perth County very much. And just taking in the scenery and appreciating all that you have, and maybe play a little Audible book while you're driving along or playing the music loud, whatever suits you the best. So, have you ever heard the song Flowers by Miley Cyrus? It is such an upbeat song. And this song is interesting because it's not rage filled. It's upbeat, but it's really calm. I can buy myself flowers. I can love me better. That is so not revenge energy. It's just like self-sufficiently gone blown up loud. And here's the question I've been asking myself. Am I choosing independence because I'm empowered or because I'm afraid? And there is a difference in that. Healthy solitude says, I don't need someone to complete me. Defensive independence says, I won't let anyone close enough to hurt me. Being alone gives you time to sort that out. And for me, this season isn't about proving that I don't need anyone. It's about proving that I won't abandon myself again. That person that I want in my life, I want them to be able to converse with me and we look at the time and go, wow, it's 2:00 already. Or to say, I feel like doing this. Would you like to come with me? And they have the independence to say yes or no. I would love them to spend time with me, but I also want them to feel free that they don't have to feel obligated to do everything that I do. They have to embrace the smaller things like that little trailer of mine. There's a lot of gratitude to be had when you wind down and you're cooking with minimal electricity because you can't have a kettle and a ninja going at the same time, heaven forbid. And they don't mind small spaces. They don't need everything in life. And, when you go on these dating apps, like the first thing they're showing is their motorcycle. Second thing they're showing is their pillow in a bed. Them with a pillow in bed. And, anything else that they have, a boat, whatever. And it's like, I look at them and go, I really don't want you because that's not the lifestyle I want to live. I want to aspire to be quiet in my next 20 years. I don't need to be grinding to get rich. Sure, I'm going to have to probably work the rest of my life, but that's okay because right now I'm living my passion too. And that makes me smile so much that I took this risk and I'm alone. And it's kind of like my husband now, my magazine. It's something that I can make it the way I want it to be. And it's a great partner because it's kind of reflecting me now. Hopefully, if you're in the Kitchener Waterloo area, you'll be able to see it next month and really kind of look at it and go, yeah, that looks like Trina. So being alone removes distraction. It also removes distortion. And there's no one to blame, no one to impress, no one to perform for. It's just you. And if you can sit with yourself without rushing to fill the space, you can build something unshakable. Maybe the goal after a breakup isn't to find someone new. Maybe the goal is to become someone who doesn't settle. So if you're in your alone season right now, just don't panic. And when you have those bouts of loneliness or those feelings of calling your ex or someone that will fill the void temporarily, just ask yourself, what am I learning? Where was I overextending? Where did I silence myself? And who am I becoming in this quiet? Because this quiet is not empty. It's actually formative. And when you enter your next relationship from that place, it won't be out of fear. It will be from strength. And strength allows you to see the red flags quicker, to see the green flags flying, and to embrace the adventure, feeling positive, confident that there's a possibility that this time around, the future looks bright. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, give me a follow at Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, Life's the Blog CA. If you want to donate to the cause, you can go to buzzsprout.com and donate. Look me up, Life's the Blog podcast. And I hope to see you next week. You have yourself a great week. Be calm, be proud, be happy, be true to yourself. Have a good one.